Come on, Livingston, we're gonna go on and on and on. Together we can make it. We're gonna go on and on and on. Come on, Livingston.
Knocks it through. Mullen bursting into the box. Josh Mullen.
Together we can make it.
Mullen's ball across, it's turned in! It's Pittman who's got it! Livingston leads!
Road is long.
Now can they get the ball back in? O'Brien.
Lead! And Livingston have the lead!
Man, score.
If we march to
The full-time whistle blows and David Hayes celebrates! And the Livingston fans join in exultation.
come on, Livingston.
Livingston have the lead against Rangers, and they are certainly rising to a few occasions on their return to the top flight in Scotland.
Come on, Livingston. We're gonna
Hello and welcome back to TalkLivi, the podcast dedicated to everything Livingston Football Club and Scottish football. My name's Andy, and today I'm joined by Angus. Angus, how are you doing?
Yeah, doing well. Much better after that result today than in previous weekends.
Definitely. And Ewan also joins us this week. Ewan, you quite happy, a happy man this week?
Yeah, makes a change after the last few weeks. The only disappointment being I need to look at your ugly face for the next hour. But we'll put up with it after the Livi win.
The abuse I get on here, honestly, shocking. Thankfully, Callum's not here to continue the abuse. He misses out commentary duty and all that. But you can listen to this episode and all our other episodes on your preferred podcast streaming site. We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify and YouTube, plus loads more. So all you need to do is search for TalkLivi to find us. Follow us and subscribe if you can so you won't miss another episode. But coming up this week, we look back at the weekend's game with Hamilton. Could we finally secure the point needed to secure a top six place? Well, that's evidently yes, we did. We then bring back What Does Your Fox In? Before looking ahead to our next game, which is a home game against our Edinburgh rivals Hibs in West Lothian.
Top six is finally secured. I repeat, ladies and gentlemen, top six has been secured. Livingston, for the second season running, had finished in the top six of Scottish football. Don't know if we got that across there, but we are in the top six. It's an incredible achievement for the football club and a bit of history secured as well. We managed this thanks to our 2-1 win over Hamilton on Saturday. After a poor run of results and performances, it was back to our best as goals from J. Emmanuel Thomas and Scott Pittman won the game for the Lions. That's it's a much better feeling on a Saturday after a win, isn't it, guys?
Yeah, definitely. A complete 180 from last weekend. I think last weekend, in all honesty, it probably was one of the worst performances we've had this season. Just from top to bottom, just weren't effective in any way at all. We looked very organised today. We looked as if we did have much more of an idea of what our game plan was going to be. A couple of changes as well. Longridge, Jet and Forrest came into the squad. And obviously, I think a couple of those players, most notably Jet, I think raised a couple of eyebrows in the team selection. But thankfully, they came in and all three of them made the most of their chance, essentially. Jackson Longridge at the back, I'm not going to lie, him coming in after being kind of out in the wilderness for a wee bit, I was a wee bit worried by, but he was absolutely solid. And then Jet and Forrest were tremendous outballs today. I thought they worked very, very well. And yeah, hopefully we'll see more of them. Obviously, going on to more so the game now. Got to talk about Jet's goal, and it's a well-worked throw-in. Ball comes into him, and it's almost Thierry Henry-esque against Man United all those years ago. Obviously, not quite as spectacular from outside the box, but a real cracking bit of skill there to flick it up and hammer it into the top corner. It's a real gorgeous goal. Moving on from there, I think we were pretty solid. Hamilton weren't really causing an awful lot of trouble, but they did eventually get a goal through another cracking goal as well. Smith eventually gets the ball off of, I think, is it Easton who tackles Jet? The ball ends up at Smith's feet. He's allowed probably to run towards goal a bit too easily. There's not really anybody out there to press him immediately, and he fires it in. And again, on Twitter and Facebook and that, you're seeing people calling for McCrory to do better. It's an absolutely cracking finish. Like, what can he do about that? Like, I think we've just got to accept now that any goal we concede with McCrory in goals, there's going to be people saying that he should have done better. But you look at that finish, it was absolutely tremendous. But thankfully for Livi, we didn't get our heads down from that. We kept on playing our usual way, a lot more composed. We were still kind of going long at times, but when we were getting into that final third, we were getting the ball down and playing some really nice stuff, playing it out to Alan Forrest on the left-hand side, and of course Nicky Devlin on the right, who had an absolute amazing game today. He played as if Steve Clark was in the stands for this match, and just the way that he glides past people, I think most defenders in the league don't realise quite how fast he is, because there's times where you just see him just square them up, and then he's gone, and there's no chance that anybody's going to catch him up there. Crosses the ball back tremendously well. I think it hits off Jet or a Hamilton defender, makes its way to Pittman, who has an easy tap in, and it's 2-1. Absolutely delighted for Pittman. Now he's the joint highest goal scorer in the top flight, alongside Derek Lilly and O'Brien, I believe. And he obviously given us the lead before half-time. And then second half, we kind of just killed the game off. Hamilton didn't really do an awful lot more. They did have one chance that kind of fell through to Ross Callaghan, but nobody kind of gambled on at the back post for them, thankfully for us. But we were more the dominant team. We had a very good chance with Josh Mullen, curled one in the later stages of the game that hit the bar, and then Poplatnik has one that he puts it in the back of the net, and I'll be interested to see if that's offside. But I think the most pleasing thing, aside from the win, is just the manner of the performance. Everybody showed up today. I know Nicky Devlin deservedly got man of the match, but I don't think you look at anybody on that pitch today and say that they didn't knock their pan in. And considering what's happened in the last couple of weeks, that is all that we could ask for, really.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think the big thing for me is we looked at it this week. I'm not taking any credit at all, but I kind of called it last week that I fancied seeing a reaction today, and I think we saw that from the players after what's been a relatively poor 4, 5, 6 weeks for the club. I think the good thing is that again I commented that I thought we became a bit predictable. I thought we changed it up entirely for this game. I thought dropping Millen almost emphasised Alan Forrest's game a little bit more. I think his running power was a big thing for us. When we did come under a little bit of pressure from Hamilton, we gave the ball to Forrest, and he ran 40, 50, 60 yards, and one as a throw and one as a foul. I think he was really excellent. You mentioned Devlin there. I think Pittman as well epitomised everything that the club's about. Again, I thought he was back to his best, almost like that rest was planned last week, and he's looked far more like himself against Hamilton. But you mentioned Jacko, and I just wanted to give a special mention to him, because there's so many fans out there that don't rate him, and opinions are like arseholes. We've all got one. But I think Jacko was outstanding today. Whether it was helped because Forrest was there as well, I don't know, but I think he deserves enormous amounts of credit for coming into the team, as you say, from the wilderness, and putting in a really, really strong performance at left back. And I've been bemoaning that left side of defence most of the season, although Serrano's been very good. I think defensively he's looked weak at times. I thought Jacko didn't put a foot wrong, and defensively was excellent. But also, and you'll be surprised to hear this from me, and I think you both know what's coming.
Drum roll, please.
I thought Jet was outstanding for the most part. I thought everything that we need from a number 9 almost as someone who's going to hold the ball up, win flick-ons, win fouls, run at his man. He done all of that and more, and the goal was just absolutely terrific. If anybody's not seen it yet, go and try and watch it. It's a terrific bit of skill, flicking it up and obviously turning on the swivel and putting it into the top corner. He's pipped to man of the match just because I feel that he's to blame for the goal that we conceded by losing the goal and losing the ball in the midfield. But that's not to take away from what was an excellent performance from him, and a great performance all round. Much more like ourselves. Top 6 for the second year running. It's an amazing achievement for the football club, and it's one that we should all rightly be proud of.
Yeah, can't really add a lot more to that. Angus, obviously you touched on the Aki's equaliser. with Robbie. I think Robbie could save someone's child from a burning building, and they complained that he didn't go back and get the TV. I think Robbie's just in that situation with some of our fans that they'll never ever take them. But for me, I agree with you. I don't think he can do a lot for the goal. As you say, I think we were really solid today, which we haven't looked for a number of weeks, to be honest. Since the Aberdeen game that we won up at Pittodrie. I think other than Aki's goal, and as you touched on, Angus, the chance Callaghan had, I don't think they really threatened. I think they were very busy, and it was quite a frantically paced game. I think both teams were trying to go for it. But I think we were really comfortable throughout. As you touched on, great play by Devlin for the first. The finish by J. Emmanuel Thomas. If it's not on the Soccer-AM showboat, it's an absolute disaster. As we kind of touched on the equaliser, it was well taken, and Devlin again for the third one. Over that kind of 10-15 yards, Devlin, I think, could take anyone in the league for pace, and he beats both kind of players on the left-hand side. Obviously, it's broke to Pittman, and Pitts has swept it home, and we're 2-1 up at half-time. But I think if anyone looked like getting another goal, in the game, it was us. I think we offered a threat on the counter-attack repeatedly. As you said, Forrest offered quite a lot. I think Sibbald was quietly effective on the right-hand side in terms of opening up that side for Nicky to go beyond him and offer an overlap and a threat that side as well. And as you said, I think Jets had a very good game. He was a constant kind of thorn in Hamilton's side, constant threat, bullied the centre halves, and that's what I want to see from a guy of his physique. I want to see him bully centre halves and ragdoll them about, and I think he was doing that today. And it was a great way to go and cement top six. It's a fantastic achievement for the football club. Having spoke to Jim Leishman during the week, he talks about it. It's an incredible achievement for the football club, and with it, we always talk about it. With a club with our budget, our fan base, we have no right to be reaching top six back-to-back seasons, and it shows. It's great testament to the work that's been done at the football club. But it's now we can focus on maybe going to try and catch Aberdeen. There's only 6 points there. Let's target them next 6 games.
Yeah, definitely so. Aberdeen obviously have just lost Eric McInnes, and in all honesty, they don't look up to much recently. But just kind of going back to the point that Andy kind of made there about like how in recent weeks we've became kind of predictable. Obviously, Alan Forrest came in on that left-hand side today. Do you think him being on that left-hand side, and obviously we still had Nicky Devlin roaming up and down the right-hand side, do you think that balance made things not only easier for us, but a bit more suspect for the opposition, because they had to worry about the fact that we did have threats on either side, rather than in recent weeks where we have literally just been going down the one side and hoping for the best there?
Yeah, do you know something? It's something that I'd picked up on. I'd mentioned about us becoming predictable, and I think there was a stat, something like 60% of our play, or even more than that, was going down the right-hand side for the last 6, 7, 8, 9 weeks or whatever it was. So we've almost became really easy to defend against if you're an opposition doing your tactics and things before the game, looking at the opposition. Or Livingston play a lot of the play down the right-hand side, and I would bet, it's probably the wrong saying given who I am about to mention, but I'd bet a lot of money that Brian Rice has probably looked at us and predicted us to play similar again, play a lot of football down the right-hand side. So Josh Mullen not being involved there and Alan Forrest coming in has almost changed the dynamics totally. And we've played a lot more down the left-hand side, and it really impacted a lot. It freed up Nicky Devlin almost. It gave him a lot more space to run into, and he ran up and down that wing, as he does all the time, but it almost freed up room in front of him with Josh not being there. And Josh has been a massive part of this season, but it now begs the question, where do we go for here? Because it worked so well today. Alan Forrest been in, and I know you've been a passionate sort of admirer of Alan Forrest this season, Angus, and rightly so. He's been a great signing for us, and probably unlucky to drop out the team as much as he has. But he's come in today. He's done himself justice, and he's probably played his way into the starting 11 for the next few weeks. I would imagine if he continues that form.
I think Angus probably had to go and have a cold shower when he saw the lineup and Al was in the starting 11. He's been gagging on him getting back in, but yeah, I think he was very good. You know, we've touched it previous weeks. I think Alan, he offers something a wee bit different. He's good at carrying the ball and trying to take on his man. I think he complemented Jacko down that side really well, as you touched on, Andy. I think Jacko was solid, and I've never really quite got the criticism he gets from some fans. Moan at me if you want, listeners, but you know, I don't understand the criticism he takes. But yeah, I think Callum was very good. I think naturally having two players that come inside, like Forrest and Sybil today, I think it allowed the fullbacks to offer that threat, and Jacko getting up in support and Nicky down the other side. That's naturally where your width is going to come from, is your fullbacks, when you've got guys that are coming inside. So, but at the same time, as you say, Josh has played a massive part, but it just shows you the options that we have. We've talked about it all season. We've got a very good squad, and we've got players that can play in those areas and offer something a wee bit different. But that worked today. We were calling out for a few changes, and we got that today, and it's got the 3 points that have secured top six. One little talking point was Davey prior to the game. He was asked a few questions about Scott Robinson. We touched on it last week. His reaction after the Rangers game. What were our thoughts on those comments, guys?
It's a weird one. Obviously, we don't know the full context of what's happened behind the scenes, but it doesn't look good for both Martindale and Robinson, in my opinion. Obviously, Robinson being subbed on and taken off in the game against Rangers, it did seem very natural to everybody that it was just to protect the player. You guys have obviously mentioned an awful lot that Robinson very rarely plays so often in 1 week. I think that was coming up to one of our, we played the Sunday, and then we were playing the Wednesday with a game then on the Saturday again. So it did seem to be kind of thinking ahead. But the reaction from Robinson's poor. Who knows what's happened in the dressing room after that? But I can only imagine that things have got even sourer from there. The fact that it now appears that Robinson is done with the club is very disappointing. Robinson's obviously been with us for a very long time, scooped him up from League One East Fife. Obviously, we helped him through injuries, brought him to the Premiership, and then he's had the chance the last couple of months to become a key player in the top flight for a top six team. So to kind of see that one kind of instance of them falling out and suddenly it's away in a huff, it's very disappointing as a fan to see. As a player this season, he's been terrific for us, especially in that run. And he's, obviously this season, he's been such a key part of the team. And yeah, obviously he's became a massive fan favourite of the support as well. The players all seem to love him and that. But I guess at the same time, we've got to look at it and be like, okay, if that's what it's going to be like, we're just going to have to move on. We'll have to find somebody else who will fit that bill, and I'm pretty sure we will do so. I do think Robinson's a great player, but I'm not overly worried that we can't replace him. But yeah, just the whole situation that's kind of transpired, it's never something you kind of want to see. And if it's going to be a sour ending for a player who's given so much, or a player who is effectively a legend of the club, part of back-to-back promotion. He's scored, how many times against Celtic in that as well? Our first goal back up into the Premiership. Scored a goal to take us to the final. To end this way, it's, disappointing is all I can say, really.
Yeah, I mean, I think Davey's always had the philosophy at the football club, if someone doesn't want to be there, then they're not going to be there. I think Davey's always had that attitude. And I mean, Robbo, it was only a few weeks ago he was talking about signing a new contract, but at the end of the day, he may have been offered a deal elsewhere. We don't know that. And the chances are he's probably going to get better money elsewhere. Again, that's just the reality. And if you look at Robbo's past with injuries, he's 28, 29, coming up 29. This is maybe his last good move for decent money at the end of the day. And if it's just a shame, as you say, it could end on a sour note. when really we should be celebrating what Robbo's done for the club, because it's been a match made in heaven. I think, a classic example of what we've done over the last few years, giving players a second opportunity. Robbo was dropping down the leagues to part-time football. We gave him an opportunity to go full-time again. And he's rewarded us. He's played over 100 games for the club. He's scored some important goals, both in the Championship promotion season and in the top flight as well. And look, I have nothing but good things to say about Robbo in terms of when I've been in and about the club. He's always been top notch. He's always very chatty, always approaches you, always makes a point of saying hello. And it would be it would be a shame for it to end on such a sour note. But much like we spoke about Stephen Lawless last year, Steve didn't want to be at the club. Move on then. I'm sure we've had a very good record in the transfer market over the last 4 or 5 years. I'm certain that we could go and find someone. An ideal replacement could be a lad that was playing on the park today, who was Bruce Anderson. Someone in quite a similar mould to Scott Robinson, who's available in the summer. There's just an option for you. But yeah, it's a shame that it's possibly coming down to that. But at the end of the day, I think, if he wants to move on, it's his decision to move on. He's out of contract.
Yeah, you guys have really sort of said it all, and my sentiments exactly, that it would really be a sad ending to what's been a really good legacy for him at the football club, and I do hope that the fans will look past this potential incident, this rumoured problem, and see him for what he is, as a terrific sort of asset for the football club over the last few years. And I think the club's been good for Robbo, and Robbo's been good for the club. But I would add to that and there was a tweet earlier on that I thought epitomised exactly kind of how I felt as well, that the badge on the front is bigger than the name on the back for me. And if as you say, if Robbo doesn't want to be there, then cheerio at the end of the day. I hope, the Rangers incident, I hope that's not been manufactured by Robbo. I would like to think that he's better than that, and he's not had that up his sleeve and manufactured that situation to put this sort of in place. What I would say is, I think it must be a very difficult situation for David Martindale to be in. He's got to show that authority. If someone walks off in the huff, he's got to show that authority, because at the end of the day, if he doesn't, Robbo walks back into the team after that, it's sending the wrong message out to the rest of the squad. And I don't think that's what Livingston's all about as a football club. We're all in it together, so to speak. But, again, like you all say, I don't want this sort of segment to end on a sour note. And if the rumours are indeed true, then best of luck to Robbo. And if he goes on and has the rest of a good career, we'll still look back on his time at Livingston with fondness, I'm sure. But not to end on a sour note, obviously. Top 6 is secured, as we've mentioned it multiple times now. Where does that rate in achievements for the football club? That's back-to-back seasons in the top flight now for Livingston. We are currently the 5th best team in Scotland as it stands. It's an unbelievable achievement, isn't it?
Yeah, it's remarkable. As I say, we've chatted at length before on the podcast about the team that finished 3rd, but I think there was a lot more money about the club at the time when we achieved that. Granted, it was still a magnificent achievement, and it'll probably never be done again. A team coming up first season, and in the top flight and finishing 3rd. But I think you see where the club's been. I know some fans hate talking about it, but look where we've come from. It was only 5 years ago we were getting relegated to League One, and now we're the 5th best team in the country, back-to-back seasons. Obviously, we've still got to confirm that this year, but we're going to be a top 6 club again this year, and it's the first time in the club's history we've had back-to-back top 6 finishes. We've only had 3 in our history, so it's a monumental achievement for the football club, and hopefully we don't sit back on it. hopefully we go for the rest of the season. As I say, there's 6 games there. Aberdeen are within touching distance, 6 points in it. Let's go try and chase them down, and we've got the Scottish Cup to look forward to as well. So there's still so much to play for this season. I hope, as we touched on last week, we don't want the season to fizzle out. There's still a lot to play for.
Yeah, to do back-to-back seasons in the top 6, just to show how massive an achievement that is. Other than Celtic, Rangers and Aberdeen, there's not an awful lot of teams who do that an awful lot recently. You even look at, let's talk about the teams who are supposedly the biggest clubs in the country. Hearts are currently in the Championship. Dundee United are back in the top flight for the first season after, 4 years. Hibs weren't in the top 6 last season. You're looking at all these, and then you can go even further with that. Look where Partick Thistle are. Look where Dundee are. Look where Dunfermline and that are. Even the rest of the teams in our league, Kilmarnock, St Mirren, these teams are supposed to be such bigger than Livingston. The fact that we've done this 2 years in a row when an awful lot of those teams haven't done it once in the last wee while. I mean, obviously talking about more of the teams who are kind of bouncing up and down from the Championship, but we all like to talk about, in Scottish football, they all like to talk about why big teams deserve certain things. Well, you've got to go out and show it, and that's exactly what we've done. And because of that, I think that achievement has to be maximised fully, because it is an unreal achievement for a side with, we've probably got, us, Ross County and Hamlin have probably got the lowest budgets in the league by maybe a considerable difference. And the fact that we've done this twice in a row is, absolutely tremendous. And the players, coaching staff deserve tremendous credit for it. And I think when we're kind of older in that, we will be looking back at these seasons probably most fondly out of most, and be like, remember when we did that? And just a great achievement for the club overall. It's the return of What Does Your Fox In this week, our take on the hit TV show Room 101. We will all argue for a pet hate that annoys us about football, and let you, the listeners, decide what annoys you the most. So saying that, we will start with you, Ewan. In the name of our most Marmite player of all time and now current assistant manager, we ask, what does your fox in?
What does my fox in is this new habit players have developed, which is covering their mouth every time they talk during games, right? I don't know where it's developed from, right? But what conversation are they having on the pitch that is so secretive when they're walking off the pitch talking to someone that they need to cover their mouth all the time? Like, what are you discussing that is so secret? Are you giving away government information? What is being filtered on the pitch? And I think it's heightened during COVID. It's just heightened even more during COVID because there are no fans in the stadium. But they were still doing it when there's 50,000 fans in a football stadium. Why? Nobody's listening to you. Nobody's listening to this conversation from the stands, right? Just have a chat. Nobody's going to microanalyze what you're saying. It really does my fox in, guys.
Yeah, you say no one's going to microanalyze it, but there's a lot of lip readers out there in the world. Now, if these players are going on about such and such a bit of a ball bag, into, and what do you think of this twat? Then I'm not saying that's what they're having a conversation about, but maybe they don't want the general public and those people to know that they're discussing them.
Yeah, they very well could be talking smack about their own team, talking about potential moves elsewhere. So I don't know. And you know what? They're all entitled to their privacy in the end. Who cares if they cover their mouths and that?
Entitled to their privacy? They go out in a football park in front of millions of folk every week on the TV. You having a laugh?
Doesn't mean you're entitled to hear what they're talking about.
Folk go on Big Brother and they didn't cover their mouth every time they talk. What is footballer? What conversation is a footballer having on the pitch?
They might be. I mean, I'm not saying that it does this, but let's say, I don't know. We just spoke about Hamilton, so Hakeem Adolphin. So let's say he's talking to his teammate Brian Easton, and they're not happy with their halftime team talk for their manager. They're going to hide their mouth because they're not wanting anybody to pick up on what they've maybe said about their manager, just in case.
Shite bag behaviour. Shite bag behaviour. It's just shite bag behaviour.
I mean, I'm just giving you reasonable excuses for maybe covering their mouth. I don't know. I mean, I don't specifically know why that really does your fox, and I don't see that being a massive issue.
No, it's so irritating. none of that. Like, have you seen some of these Premier League footballers doing an interview? They're dull as anything. They're not having a great conversation. Probably talking about their curtains or something like that. Like, honestly, it does my fox in, guys. It
And
just does my
that's
fox
their
in.
own business if that's what they're talking about, Ewan.
I am not watching a game of football and going, oh, what's he saying? Let's microanalyze it. Let's lip read him. I'm not doing that. I'm watching the fucking football. Nobody cares.
Here's one for you, and I know it's not the same situation, but like a different scenario. Say you're on the train and your phone goes. Would you answer your phone because if there's people sitting about to have a private conversation, or would you maybe text them to say, "Listen, I'm on the train. I'll phone you back"?
I'd answer my phone and make it as awkward as possible for everyone else.
Of course you would. Of course you would. But you know, that's what I mean. A bit of privacy. Maybe they just don't want people.
They're on a
knowing what
football
they're doing.
pitch. They're on a football. It's not like a packed train.
Live on the telly in this day and age, everything's picked up on. Everything. You know, it doesn't matter what.
They're always watching.
Yeah, it's like Big Brother watching all the time.
Aye, but do you see folk go on Big Brother and cover their mouth whenever they talk? No.
I'm not an advocate of Big Brother, but I reckon it wouldn't have made like 20 plus series if everybody who went on just hid away from the cameras.
Right. When you guys watch a game of football, are you watching what a player's saying?
Maybe for some.
No, you're not. No, you're not. The fact you had to say maybe says you weren't.
Wait, see, even when like they hand like notes on the paper, I'm still like doing that, try to like see what's on it and see what the.
You're a sad bastard, then.
Anyway, I mean,
let's move on.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a fan of that. I think it's very, well, I'm not a fan of that. But anyway, I'll go now anyway because I know that I'm going to get dogs abuse because it's me, and you give me dogs abuse regardless if it does your fox in or not. So what really does my fox in, right? And Livingston are terrible for this, and it drives me insane. And already Angus has got his head in his hands because he knows what's coming. When we tweet to say team lineups at such and such a time, so team lineups at 1:45. Now, credit to them, they've done it today, 1:45 on the nose, but in the past, it's been 1:52, 1:40, 49, 1 whatever. So instead of tweeting team lineups at 1:45, can they not just change it to team lineups from 1:45? That way, not everybody's refreshing Twitter constantly, waiting on the team lineup at 1:45. Really does my fox in.
I really wish Callum was here because for those who don't know, Andy and Callum have been going back and forth about this in the group chat for many a week now. I just don't care, in all honesty. Like, I'm just fine finding out the team lineups whenever, to be fair. As long as it's before 3 o'clock, I'm sound. I don't get as much of a tizzy thinking about that, to be honest, but maybe I'm just different.
I can't believe I've just been sat and grilled about mine when Andy comes out with that. Oh, no, the team lineup was announced at 1:46 when it said 1:45. Jesus Christ, it ruined my day. Andy, get a life, man.
If we're talking about you and like saying that we're sad for like listening into like what people are talking about in that, I think, Andy, you've got to put your priorities in order if you're sitting there on the button waiting for the team lineup straight away.
I guarantee you, Angus, I'm not the only one that when the club, or I'm not even specifically Livingston do it, but I'm sure there's other clubs out there that do it too. They'll tweet that. I guarantee you there's football fans across the country sitting on Twitter at specifically the time that the club's tweeted the team will be announced, waiting for the team to line up. So if it's 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes after, it really does my fox in. Plus, can I just say, it's all right. It doesn't matter to you, Angus, and it doesn't matter to you, Ewan. But I'm waiting to have to do the graphics for the podcast as well.
Oh, here we go. I do graphics for the podcast.
It's true, though. It does my fox in. All I'm saying, all I'm advocating for is a change from the word at, to from. And then the problem doesn't exist anymore.
Andy, you get that graphic out in about a minute after the lineup's announced. It can't be that you're making it sound like it's an absolute chore and it takes you hours to do it, right? You managed to get it out within like 5 minutes every week of the lineup being announced, so it's clearly not that big a deal, right? Why don't you just, I don't know, why don't you just like look slightly later if you know it's not going to be 1:45 on the dot? Why don't you just like hold off 5 minutes and then there you go, you've got your lineup, it's there. Instead of sitting on your phone refreshing Twitter every millisecond waiting for someone to announce 11 players that are walking out on the pitch. Jesus Christ, Andy, get a life, son.
Listen, I guarantee you.
I would like to make a request to Dave or whoever's running the Twitter accounts just to keep on doing this, because it is great to see this meltdown happen. Keep it coming. We're delighted to see this. I know it's only one word, but yeah, don't feel pressured at all to make this subtle change.
Dave, doing a great job. Love what you're doing. And if it sends Andy into a meltdown, you're doing an even better job.
I just all I'm saying, I guarantee you that there'll be people out there that support me 100%. I guarantee you. And we'll see when we put the polls live. But anyway, that's me. I knew I was going to get dogs abuse regardless. So we'll move on to Angus. And it's his debut on What Does Your Fox In. So let's hear it, Angus.
Yeah, kind of being put on the spot here, but just one thing that always does my head in. And to be honest, it's not really that prominent in Scottish football, but nothing does my head in more than when a team who gets beat, say for example, an English side that prefers Man United, say if they get beat 3-1 or something like that, the next hour all you see from players is all these messages and photos on Instagram, Twitter and everything like, oh, like we need to do better than that. Stop saying we need to do better. Just go and do it. Like, nobody wants to ever see that happen. Just shut up and actually go and prove your worth. That is what we want. Like, I don't care if you put a photo with some crappy filter on it being like, oh, we go again. No, just fucking do it, please.
Would you prefer if you could see them saying it whilst they're on the pitch instead of covering their mouth saying it?
I would prefer seeing them talk to each other and be like, oh, we were pure shite today. And then we could at least be like, yeah, there's a human side to it. This just
well, there you go. They need to uncover their mouth when they're talking. There you go. You've just backed me up. Well played, Angus. Thank you.
I've just said it in favour of it, actually. I've said that you could see it and then you would say them.
That's what I just said. You're backing me up now. That's good. I'm glad I'm getting that support.
I'm confused to see how you think I'm backing you up. I'm saying that if you've seen them actually say it rather than some manufactured Twitter post, it would be much more, and it would seem a lot more authentic rather than seeing some agent or that who's probably tweeting.
That so you're saying they need to uncover their mouth on the pitch and they can say it on the pitch going, oh, we were shite today, right, to someone. That would make you feel better.
Yeah, let's just move on for that.
No, Angus, don't say that. What I would say is, I just hope that they schedule their tweets for exactly the right time. No, listen, I actually get what you're saying. I think there's no many things more annoying than seeing your team sort of putting in a bad performance and then a player coming out after it and saying, "Oh, we weren't quite at it today." Yeah, we're well aware you weren't quite at it today. Go and do something about it. But in the day and age of social media, that's always going to happen. And I think we all know for being football fans, and at the end of the day, footballers are probably, football fans as well, that our first reaction is to jump onto social media and tweet or post something on Facebook, our feelings on what's just happened in the football. And I'd imagine players are the same. And I guess what goes through their mind is they're showing fans that they care. And I suppose that would be my argument against that.
Yeah, to completely just nullify that straight away. They've had 90 minutes to show that they care. I don't want to see some nonsense that, I mean, like talking about Man United right now in specific, like for years they've just been absolutely under par, and to just see the same group of idiots just constantly tweeting out the same copy and paste messages over and over again after they've been gubbed off of some farmers in the bloody west of England or something like that. Just fed up with it. Absolute nonsense. And everybody claims that they're world class and that. Nah, pish.
Angus, I wish you were this passionate just talking about our games.
I was thinking that as well. I don't think I've heard Angus is passionate before. But God forbid someone tweeting we go again.
If I ever see any Livi player, I don't care if it's Scott Pittman, I don't care if it's who else, like Alan Forrest, I will not be pleased, and they will go down my rankings of who I like at the club.
Jesus, he must really mean it if he said Alan Forrest. He really must mean it.
Jesus, I thought Angus was looking for a date for Alan for a few weeks now. It's been that insistent on getting Alan into the team. But yeah, so we'll just do a quick recap on our what does our Foxes in. Ewan, what does your Fox in this week?
What does my Fox in is players covering their mouth whilst they're talking on the pitch.
Cool. Okay. And what does my Fox in is when clubs tweet that they're going to announce the team at a certain time and then they don't announce it at that time. Really does my Fox in. And
I like to see you fit the characters in on that one.
You're laughing, you, and you're laughing, Angus, but I guarantee you I'll be close to winning that poll this week. Angus?
And does my Fox in is overprivileged pansies not doing enough on the park and thinking an Instagram post makes up for it.
Wow.
What about a Twitter post?
Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, whatever. Don't care. Get them all into the one bundle.
Wow. But yeah, this has been the return of what does a Fox, and it's always a good laugh talking about it. It's always interesting to see the different points of view, and it's always good to get dogs abuse because that's what happens every time we do this segment, which is why I don't like doing it anymore, and Ewan's desperate to do it every week.
To be fair, I think me and Ewan will both agree that ours are by far better than yours.
Well, we'll see. And you say that we'll pop a poll onto Twitter. Probably later in the week. We'll run it for a couple of days and we'll see who's right. And if you are listening, make sure that you feel sorry for me and vote me in the poll.
Nah. He's not getting to finish this segment with a pity vote. Vote for the one that you feel most passionate about.
Finally, on this episode, we're going to take a look ahead to our next game and final game before the split. It's a home game against Edinburgh's only top flight team, Hibernian. Hibs, who currently sit in third place and 12 points clear of us, will be looking to continue their impressive league run. The Lions will be hoping to kick on and drag Hibs and Aberdeen a bit closer in the league table. Tough game, this one, but after the win against Hamilton, we'll be going into it with much more confidence now, won't we?
Yeah, definitely. So I don't think Hibs this season have been a great force. I know they're sitting third in the table, but at the same time, I don't really think that they're anything to properly fear. Obviously, we beat them 3-0 last time, getting revenge for that 4-1 defeat earlier in the season. But yeah, Hibs are such a strange side because I think you look at some of their players and you know that they could, on their day, punish us quite heavily, in all honesty. The likes of Boyle, Murphy, Doidge, Nisbet, they're all good players, Cadden. But then you also have the flip side where you know there's a mistake in that team as well. You look at that back line with whether it's Stevenson, whether it's Porteous, even McGregor and Hanlon and that as well. You kind of feel like you can get at them. So it always just kind of depends on what Hibs shows up, I think. And if we can get in and about them, then they are a team who can go hiding in those situations and we could possibly get some joy from. They got a 2-1 victory today against Ross County. Apparently, there's quite a lot of contention about the penalty that was awarded for them. Apparently, it's a bit of a dive. I think John Hughes said something about the last time he's seen somebody dive like that. They were in their Speedos talking about Martin Boyle today. But yeah, we got to take massive confidence from how we play today. And if we play like that again, there's no reason why we can't take 1 or 3 points from them next Saturday.
Yeah, I think Hibs, we've always had Hibs' number a little bit since we came back up into the top flight. I think we've always had a very strong spine to our team, and I think Hibs have always had a bit of a soft centre. You've touched on the defence in particular. I think Porteous I don't understand the hype with Porteous and never have. I think he's always a few seconds away from making a mistake. Hanlon as well. Not a big fan of his. Wait for the clean sheet that they're going to get next week. But I think you can get at Hibs. In the game in January, we played on that. We went kind of man for man in the middle of the park, played 3 centre midfielders in there and tried to almost sucker them in and catch them in behind. And we took advantage of them on the day. But credit where credit's due. I'm not a Jack Ross fan, but they're sitting third in the league for a reason. I think they have been. It's the most consistent I've seen a Hibs side for a while. I think some Hibs fans have kind of bemoaned that they don't have the same flair that maybe a Hibs team has had in the past, but at the end of the day, it's a results business and they're getting more of that. So I think Jack Ross has done a good job in terms of making them a wee bit more solid. I think he's sacrificed a bit of the flair to, be more solid and make Hibs harder to beat, and it has been that this season for them. But it should be an entertaining game. I think Hibs have had a bit more joy on the road this season than they have at Easter Road. I think they've got a pretty good away record this campaign, so I think it's going to be a tough afternoon for us. But hopefully, now that there's a wee bit of pressure off us in terms of securing that top 6 spot, we can go and play with a bit more freedom and take the game to Hibs and hopefully get a positive result.
Yeah, I just want to pick up on the away form comment there, Ewan. You're absolutely spot on. I think it's only four defeats and 15 away from home in the league this season, so they have been a bit of a machine. I think it's the best outside Rangers and Celtic away from home, so they have been a bit of an animal away from home, and we obviously were on the end of it at the very start of the season when they came in and gave us a bit of a doing. Also, I'm tending to agree with you, Angus, in terms of I don't think Hibs are all that, but they've been far more consistent than anybody else in the league. They're not drawn as many games. Teams are maybe drawing 2 and then losing 1. Hibs will lose 2 and win 1. There's more points right away. I think it's 6 wins in the last 8 for Hibs. No draws in that time. 2 defeats, 6 wins. So they've been on a decent run of form, and they're scoring goals just about every week. I think St Johnstone are the only teams. I think the 2 defeats they've had, they've not scored. St Johnstone and Motherwell recently, which gives me a bit of hope, because I look at St Johnstone and they're almost the same type of team as us, almost around the same mould as how we go about things. It's obviously at home as well. I know I've just mentioned that they came here at the start of the season and gave us a bit of a doing, but notoriously they don't particularly like the pitch. Not many teams do. We've picked up a little bit, a good win against Hamilton, so we should be going into it with confidence. And I think there'll be a little bit of pressure on Hibs as well. We are now secured in the top 6, and we can almost have a free hit at this game, to reel Aberdeen and Hibs back in slightly. I know Hibs are 12 points clear of us, but if we can win this game, potentially win the game against them in the split, who knows? And we've got a really good record against Rangers and Celtic this season, so there's no reason why we can't pull the 12 points back on Hibs. It's a big ask, don't get me wrong, it's a big ask, but there'll be a bit of pressure on Jack Ross and Hibs to win the game and to put that sort of notion to bed here and now. So we should be going for the game and going into it with confidence. And as you say, if we put in a performance like we can do, and a similar performance like we done against Hamilton, and a similar performance like we done at Easter Road earlier in the season, then there's no reason why we can't pick up 3 points.
Who are the players that we need to keep an eye out for then with Hibs? I think Nisbet was back in the fold today and grabbed the winner. He's been kind of out in the cold since January, since the bid was rejected, and Boyle was on the score sheet as well. He's been a talisman kind of when Nisbet's been out the side. Yeah,
it's an interesting one, the Kevin Nisbet situation, because he was on the bench today, came on and scored about 6-8 minutes after his introduction. So I guess it depends on who is going to start up front for them. The main threat for me will probably be Martin Boyle. He's probably been Hibs' most productive player in recent months. Obviously, had to take up a wee bit of the mantle since Nisbet's kind of fallen out of favours. But I think also Jackson Irvine in the middle of the park, somebody that we should keep an eye on. He's added a lot of. He's a really good player because he kind of does everything. He's good defensively, he's good on the ball, and he's good at threading through passes. So that'll be interesting to see how the likes of Bartley and Holt will do up against a player like that. But yeah, Jamie Murphy as well. We know what he can do. Whether he'll play because his history on the plastic pitches have been as well. But yeah, I think they have plenty of threats, as we kind of mentioned before. It's just we've just got to kind of match that, and hopefully we'll minimise the impact of said players.
I think as well, I don't think we can underestimate the wing backs for Hibs. I think they've done really well this season. Josh Doig has been one of the probably standout players playing at wing back, and obviously you've got Chris Cadden, who's came into the Hibs team and is almost playing that role that we played Stevie Lawless in. Naturally more a winger, but he's been playing almost in that sort of wing back role, and it'll be interesting to see how we match up on that. Devlin is a sure thing, but it'll be interesting to see who comes in at the left hand side if we stick with Longridge, who again, as we've mentioned, had a really good game defensively. But with all due respect to Hamilton, Hibs are a different animal altogether. They've got better players than Hamilton do, so it'll be a much tougher afternoon, I would think, for Jacko. So it will be interesting to see if we match them up, or if we go same again. I don't know what you think on that one. If we go same again, I know we're notoriously in the past, if we play well, we generally stick to what we've done. And to be honest, I don't think we've done that at all since Davies really taken over. And this is the first proper chance that we've had breaks in between games that we potentially see almost a similar lineup again. I don't know what you think on that one.
Yeah, you kind of beat me to that one, Andy. I think under Gary Holt, he always kind of same line. He always went with, if you've done your job the week before, you're going to keep your place, and he always kind of persisted with the same 11 if they've went and done the business the week before. Whilst Davy almost compare him to a bit of a Claudio Ranieri, a bit of a tinker man, and tweaks things week on week, depending on the opposition. So it's quite difficult to predict it, to be honest. What Davy will do next week against Hibs, as you say, there's the potential to go and match them up. There's a potential to do what we did at Easter Road and try and sucker them in and play on the counter a little bit more. Try let Hibs almost take the game on to us. Be solid in the middle of the park, 3 centre mids. Who knows, or we go just the same setup as today. But that's one thing I'll say with Davy, is he keeps you on your toes in terms of your lineup. That makes your job doing the graphics even more difficult, Andy.
I think it'll be interesting to see what striker we go with, because obviously Jet had a really good game today, but you talked about that last game at Easter Road and how effective we were breaking at them quickly. Obviously Robinson that day got an assist and a goal from basically playing against the high line. It'll be interesting to see if he does opt for Jet again, or he does go for somebody in that similar mould to what Robinson is, maybe Platinic or Tiffany, to try and exploit a possible high line from Hibs. So it's a good point, because obviously you would look at Jet's performance today and you'd be like, yeah, he should play the next week, but against the opposition, does it suit best? Who knows? Maybe if we can isolate some centre halves, he could possibly get some joy from there. But what do you guys think? Who would you go up for up top on Saturday?
I think we've got to give some, and I know you'll hate this, Ewan, I think we've got to give some form of credit to Jack Ross. I think that he'll have looked at that last game against us at Easter Road, and I don't think he'll play quite as high a line as what they done that day, because he knows that we can be dangerous from balls over the top. So I would imagine, and this is me giving credit to Jack Ross, that he'll look at that game and not go down that route again. So it wouldn't surprise me if we stick with Jet. I think he's, and I didn't think I would ever say this, but I think he's more than warranted a place in the team again for this game. And if we get 60 minutes out of him and it's not going quite to plan, then you've got players that can come in and do a job. Tiffany, that's a lot different to what Jet does, and Pablatnik, obviously, who's almost a similar player to Jet, maybe a little bit more mobile, with a little less quality, perhaps, to go in there as well. But it will be an interesting one, and as you say, it's really hard to second guess Davy, because he's chopped and changed all season since he got the job. So it's really quite difficult to pick a side and pick who starts up top.
We'll go on to predictions then. Angus, we'll start with you. What are you expecting the Tony Mac next week?
I think it'll be a competitive game. I'm not entirely sure that we'll come out with 3 points, but I don't really think we'll lose either. So I'm just going to go for a draw. We'll go for one each. Go straight down the middle.
Need to get off that fence at some point, Angus.
If Alan Forrest was one side of the fence, he'd be off it in a heartbeat.
So I mean, it is a really difficult one to predict. As I said, I think ourselves and Hibs are quite high scorers this season. Hibs, I think, outside Raisins and Celtic have scored the most. I think we are 5th or 6th highest scorers in the league. So I think there might be potential for goals in this game. What is it? 4-4 in aggregate just now over the 2 games. So I'm going to say 2-2. I'm going to go a high scoring draw.
Oh, you better get off that fence.
Can't believe you've just sat and gave him abuse for being on the fence, and then you've got a draw. Unbelievable. I'm gonna. I hope this fence is reinforced, because I'm going to join you two on the fence and say 1-1. Score draw, but I'm going to go 1 each as well. And yeah, hopefully we're all wrong and we get 3 points.
So I've actually just put a draw. You two have started making me comments and then just thoroughly joined me with making draws. That's great.
Listen,
Brilliant.
You're right. By the way, that fence is crumbling. That was just with my weight. The fact that you two are on it as well, I can see it. I can see it falling over. But yeah, it's a big game, and it'll be a good one to go into after securing top 6, obviously this week, and we go into it with a lot of confidence, and hopefully we can come out on top as well.
That's it for this week's episode of TalkLivi. Thanks again to every single one of you for tuning in week out. If you can, we'd love to hear your feedback. Either leave us a review on iTunes or simply message us on Twitter, Facebook or Instagram.
As Ewan said, we're on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. Search TalkLivi to find us. You'll find all the links to our weekly episodes on there as well. You can also find all our episodes, including this one, on all good podcast streaming sites, including iTunes and Spotify. We're also on YouTube, so don't forget to subscribe to the channel. If none of those options suit you, all you have to do is head to our website, talklivipodcast.libsyn.com, where you'll find every single episode we have done over the last few years.
So as the guys have said, that's it for this week. Thanks again for tuning in. But quickly before we go, another quick shout out for Jim Leishman, who was an amazing special guest for our midweek episode.
Jim Leishman, MBE, Provost of the Kingdom of Fife. Come on, I got in trouble for it.
Absolutely. I think a massive shout out to Jim, and it was a fantastic episode, and it's been well received from the fans and Scottish football fans in general. So a massive thank you to everybody who's listened and continues to listen to that one as well, and it's obviously still going to be there, so feel free to jump on that one. But obviously we've got this one out as well, so again, thanks for everybody for tuning in. But from Ewan, Angus and myself, and obviously Callum, Livi are in the top 6, so let's enjoy it.
Livingston, a love will never die. West Lothian is our battle cry. This is the place from which we hail. Livingston, oh Livingston, it's up to Ambervale. Livingston, 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 oh Livingston, oh Livingston, we love it when you score. Livingston, oh Livingston, the Ambervale Lions roar. Livingston, oh Livingston, we realize our vision. Livingston, oh Livingston, into the